tonight. We have Mr. George Brogdon. I'm going to give you just a quick little bio about Mr. Brogdon. He's a 22-year Germantown resident, and he began work with the City of Germantown in 1987 as Assistant Director of Parks and Recreation. From 1998 to 2001, Mr. Brogdon served as Chief Program Officer and Chief Executive Officer of the Day Foundation. He then returned to the City of Germantown in 2001 as Assistant City Administrator. He and his wife Denise have been married for 32 years and are the parents of 3 sons, Parker, Philip, and Andrew. Thank you for coming tonight. And Mr. Mike Palazzola has lived in the Memphis area most of his life and has called Germantown home since 1977. He began his career as an economics and government teacher with the Memphis City Schools. He spent 25 years in the banking industry and is currently serving his 3rd 4-year term as alderman in position 3. And his daughter Jenna currently resides in Franklin, Indiana. And I have asked Mr. Bond, there you are. Actually, Wendy Williams, our computer genius, website genius, Facebook coordinator, was able to set up a link online that we asked our families to submit anonymous questions, and she compiled those questions. A lot more were submitted today. So Mr. Bond is going to ask the questions to Mr. Brogdon and Mr. Palazzola, and y'all are welcome. Would you like chairs? This is really informal. So would you like chairs or just to stand up here, whatever you would prefer? If you want to stand, that's great.
First of all, I do want to thank both candidates for being here today for this meeting, here to answer these questions. And I will tell both candidates that these questions are mine. These were the questions that were submitted online, so they're not my questions. The first question, and this is actually for both candidates, and I'm going to go ahead, Mr. Brogdon, there's the mic right there. We're going to share the mic. Sorry. This question is for both candidates. And Mr. Brogdon will have you answer first. This is, what is next year's plan for GMSD to accept more children since all schools are at or over capacity?
Well, that would really be a great question for the Germantown Municipal School District. I don't really believe that's a question for the mayor. However, we are going to talk in a little bit about capital needs of the schools and those types of things. And so I think we have to work, and we'll answer that question here in a little bit, but we have to work very closely with the school system to be able to help them get the resources. You know, people have been arguing whether is it the city's job or the school district's job. The school district's job and the board to run the schools. But they're not a pure district where they have funding power, bonding power, those kinds of things. So they have to have a champion at the city, and the champion of the city has got to be the board, mayor, and alderman to help them get the funds that they need to do whatever it is that they're going to do. But as far as determining how many children, those types of things, I think that is definitely the Germantown Municipal School District's responsibility.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bond. I will echo many of the sentiments of Mr. Brogdon, in the sense that we do have a duly elected school board, and I think we have Brenda Fisher here tonight. I'm not going to put her on the spot to answer that question, but we definitely have to respect the authority for a seated school board. You know, I've often said you do not want your school board to be making decisions about public safety in your city or paving roads. You probably don't want your board of mayor and aldermen deciding school start times, curriculum, bus schedules, etc. One of the things that I put out in the platform on education was for our board of mayor and aldermen and our Germantown Municipal School Board to meet twice a year in joint retreats so that we can work better together and we can tackle some of the needs that we have. And we can start to define what our community will call excellence. Riverdale, great school, just received tremendous accolades on their 7th grade math scores. And we're very proud of that. As a community, though, how do we want to define excellence moving forward? One of the things I'd like to do is bring both the school board and the board of mayor and aldermen together on most decisions. We can help each other, and we can discuss future funding. Thank you.
Thank you. And this question is for Mr. Brogdon. You have stated that you will begin working on day 1 to return the 3 Germantown schools to Germantown. How do you plan on doing that?
Well, thank you. I do appreciate that, and that is something that I've championed because as I had the opportunity to walk thousands of homes, that's what I heard. And God, it's not only on the south side, it's on the north side too, because the overcrowding has impacted your school. Someone told me, you know, the portables you have in the back, I don't have to tell you about those. It's impacted Dogwood, it's impacted all the schools. And so we need to look at that. The other thing we don't have is neighborhood schools. Now for our high school, I may not be quite as pressed for a neighborhood school, but the last few mornings I've been going to a lot of the schools and holding my sign up. And, you know, I see families walking kids from around the corner, down the street. The neighborhood I live in, I've been there 22 years. All 3 of my kids, my twins were 18 months old when I moved there, and my wife was 8.5 months pregnant with our 3rd son. We had 3 sons in 20 months. Not the best planning in the world, but went right there near Farmington School, and they went through all those schools. So the thing that we have to do is have neighborhood schools. The thing that we can't have continually, you know, it's an acute problem now, but we can't have continually is overcrowding. So what we need to do is, and it has to be the direction of the school board. It has to be the direction of the school board. But if they say we would like to try to get Germantown Elementary back, then I guarantee you, whether Mike's the mayor or George is the mayor, that we're going to start working with all the power we have, and a whole lot more than just twice a year. I'm going to try to work with them hand in hand and communicate with them constantly, because I want to try to get those schools back for them. And I think there's some win-win situations there that we can do that. Schools underutilized, they're having to bus kids a long ways, and trying to build a school down there, find the land, try to find land in Germantown. We tried to do our own garbage service. You know, it's going to cost a fortune just to buy 6 acres, and you probably need more than that for a school. So the first thing we're going to do is build relationships with all the entities that we need to. I have been in conversation with those. There's new faces, there's new opportunities, and we won't leave a stone unturned until we get that done. It's much less expensive what we pay for the schools. If you look back in what we're paying, about $333,000 a year now over time, it would be to build a new school. I think well, one of the people in the Germantown Municipal School District was the Saturday article that you had $27 million of improvements just to the existing schools, didn't improve a new school. They said, well, it's only 15, but that doesn't include the land, that doesn't include the furnishings, that doesn't include the technology. So you're looking at a lot of money when you start adding that all up. And at the end of the day, you know, the success of the school is not so much about if the building's new or not. It's about the teaching staff, it's about the pupil ratio, and it's about the technology that you have. I see old schools, you know, my son went a year to Oxford, and he was in Merton College, which was built in 1240. I can't even imagine that. It's 250 years before Columbus discovered America. But he got a great education there. So, yes, I will work from the very, very beginning. I don't know what our time limit is, because I can talk forever. But I will work from the very beginning to do that and work through the Germantown Municipal School Board, because that's the way it has to be. If they say, hey, we don't want the schools, we'd rather build all new schools, well, again, they got to come back to the city, because how are they going to fund that? Because they don't have separate funding power. So yes, I'll start that day 1. Thank you.
Thank you. This question is for Mr. Palazzolo. You've been an alderman for 10 years. Is there a decision you made as an alderman that you wish you had made a different decision?
Thank you, Mr. Bond. Of course, you know, over time, when you've been in office, oftentimes you have to make difficult decisions. We are a city of 40,123 people, and sometimes you'll make a decision that affects a small group for the greater good of the community. When you look back over time, you look over different decisions that are made, I always stand firm that you make the best decision, you get the most amount of feedback you can, you do your due diligence, and then you listen to your community. Specifically in mine, a decision with any regrets, originally we looked at looking at an ambulance service. And I was one of those people that was pretty much happy and content with the decision to have Rural Metro as our ambulance provider. And we decided to keep that ambulance contract in place through the end of the contract and to use 1 year to exercise an option so we could study bringing it in-house and look at that particular feature as a service to our community. In retrospect, I didn't think that we could do an ambulance service. That's the best piece of crow pie I've ever eaten. We have an ambulance service now in town that has reduced the arrival time from 9 minutes to 4.5 minutes. It is producing revenue, it's breaking even, and I said it couldn't be done. I'm glad our firemen and others in our city proved me wrong. That makes me very happy. It's not really regret, but as I look back at the decision, maybe I made a decision too quickly on that. Thank you, Mr. Bond.
Thank you. This question is for both candidates. Our GPAC stage is often idle. I can understand why professional performing groups such as Iris, Tennessee Shakespeare Company, and Memphis Symphony pay fees to use GPAC. That seems fair. They are not community performing organizations. But do you believe community groups like the Houston Band should also have to pay? Mr. Brogdon?
Great. How many of you have bought a ticket to GPAC in the last year? Okay. My wife and I are season ticket holders there, I guess you would call it. We're presenting members, which we give at least $1,000 a year for 3 years. So we're very invested in GPAC. I love GPAC. But GPAC's a very expensive entity. The GPAC Foundation takes care of the shows and paying the artist, and they take the ticket money. But GPAC is subsidized $1.1 million a year from your taxpayer money. So what does that mean? That means that Paul sells out every show this year, that when you buy a $45 ticket or $55, regardless of how much it is, we, the citizens, subsidize George another $110. That ticket's really $155, but I pay $45 for it. So GPAC's a wonderful thing, but it's an expensive thing. So when we look at just trying to totally give GPAC away, we have to be careful. However, I have another way to approach that, and that's through our Civic Support Plan. You heard in my bio, for 3 years I worked for the Day Foundation. Got to give away money, $15 million. That's a lot of fun. But it's not as much fun as you think because we had over 300 applications and we got to fund about 11. So, I mean, it's tough. You say no a lot. But we had a Civic Support Plan in the city that our alderman next to me was part of for years, and where we would try to take an equitable approach to all the groups. For instance, Houston High has a project graduation that they spend all night. My kids did it, my twins, when they graduated in 08 at GPAC, a lot better than whatever else they would be doing out there. And they have all kinds of wonderful things that give GPAC, well, actually it was the athletic club they stay at, and we give that to them free. But we had a systematic plan and a process to look at all civic support, whether it was arts or whatever. Now it's more kind of, well, if an alderman's on one of the boards, then they get money, and then if it's not, maybe they don't. But I'd like a more systematic plan, and in that, we could be looking at the Houston Band and things like that. On those kind of situations, I think if the house is dark and they could use it, then what does it cost to make the house live? Probably not a lot of money because you're already doing HVAC and everything else. So whatever that small price would be to make it usable by the Houston Band or whatever group in a certain category, we need to go back and categorize those because we want to support our system, our school system in every way we can. Then I'd like to do that. But we have to be real careful that we don't make the 1.1 million subsidy at GPAC 1.2 or 1.3 because that's your money. It's just coming from you. For you that didn't raise your hands, you're paying about $80 or $90 a household where I can go to GPAC. And don't know if that's fair or not, but the same thing with the parks. Many of you use the parks and then others don't. And so we're all paying for it. So you hope in the end it all evens out. So thank you.
I'll be real brief with my answer. I have my platform in the back of the table. One of the 3 pieces of the platform, community vitality, education, economic development. The education piece As your mayor, I will have a work group put in place with our city staff. All the different functions from Parks and Rec to GPAC and other functions will come together and see how we can build partnerships with our Germantown Municipal School District. Paul Chandler, the Executive Director of GPAC, which I sit on their board, is anxious to build those relationships with our schools. If there are nights available, we need to let the schools have them at a discount or at no price whatsoever. We do subsidize the arts in Germantown, and it's called our subsidy to GPAC. We need to roll that out to our community. It's a win-win for many reasons. If our children and our parents are exposed to GPAC by having programming there of their own, they'll probably want to come to GPAC as well and become subscribers. So I think that's a partnership that we can do quickly and easily, and we'll put together a work group to make that happen. Thank you.
The next question is for Mr. Brogdon. Does the plan to acquire GES, GMS, and GHS involve charter schools?
I got to tell you that I don't look at Facebook much, but last week I got very disillusioned with the human race. We had, and I didn't hear about it, but there's someone, and they may be here tonight, I don't know. But I have a son that I'm very proud of, Philip Brogdon. Philip is a graduate of Houston High School. He went to school at a little college named Grinnell College. Very, very high ranked. Look at the rankings, U.S. News rankings for liberal arts schools. Mr. Powell is very familiar with it. Very high ranking academic school. Went to Grinnell College. What he does now is he works for Success Academy Charter Schools in New York City. In Harlem, where the average 8th grade school, the kids read at 10% grade level, Success Academy has had a great success there in changing things. What my son does is, how many of you have seen the movie Moneyball? Okay, with Brad Pitt, come on women, Brad Pitt and Jonah Hill. But basically, he's a statistics economics major, and he uses analytics to help them hire teachers. Well, someone called my wife, and I gotta be honest with you, Mike and I are at the polls 10 to 7. We're at schools at 3 hours in the morning. Every evening, we're at some kind of an event, and it's hard to keep up with all emails. So someone asked my wife about charter schools, and she said, oh, my son works for Success Academy Charter Schools, where they've had great success. Success Academies. The next thing you know, George is a proponent of charter schools, and we're going to change all 3 schools to charter schools. I mean, I've never heard something so preposterous in my life. You know, sometimes Facebook, it's just for a few people to have fun on. You wonder what's going on in the real world. And they put my son's picture with his kids on the Facebook. Someone here tonight probably did that. And I got to tell you, I was going, come on guys, we're proud about Philip, but he works hard. And you're like putting him out there like that? That's crazy. Listen. There are some situations in the world where charter schools are good, but look at this tonight. This isn't one of them. I mean, yeah, New York City, if I was the mayor and the average 8th grade's reading at 10% grade level, I'm going to do everything in my power. I don't care what it is. Do you want to send your kid to a school that reads at 10% grade level? I don't think so. It's not going to be successful. But anyway, to answer your question, I know I'm a little passionate about that, but when they put my son up there, on the Mama Bear website, or whatever that is, guys, and put him all over the country, and George Brogdon is going to do charter schools, come on. And no one even ever talked to me. That's the question. So, no, not going to do that. That's not the way to do it, and Germantown doesn't need that, but I'd love to meet whoever put that on as you leave tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and this next question is for both candidates. What are your thoughts on Germantown operating its own system of mass transit, i.e. city buses, handicap transport, etc.? Mr. Powell.
Well, thank you. I find that to be a very interesting question. We have a regional transportation system known as MATA, and currently right now it's not in the best fiscal condition. You know, we've looked at some of our board retreats in the past, we've looked at senior transportation to move seniors around town. We've looked at other forms as well. As a bedroom suburban community of a major metropolitan area, that would be an undertaking that would be extremely costly. Right now, MATA provides services. Basically, our population in Germantown is pretty mobile and can get around and move around quickly. So to me, I don't think that's a long-term plan. As long as I'm mayor, I've not heard any kind of transit issues at the BMA level, the Board of Mayor and Alderman level in my 10 years. So right now, I think that would be something that maybe could be explored in the future, but not a realistic option right now.
Is that my question also? I had some experience on this when I was, for 13 years I worked with the Senior Commission, and they got into situations where they don't drive, they need to get groceries, they have to rent a cab, they do some things like that. And we looked at some programs like that a few years ago. We did a senior summit, and we came up with 5 different areas. One area that we need to look at was transportation. And so we decided to look and see what was possible. We came up with some different opportunities, and most of them make sense that are privatization. If we're trying to run a full MATA system, we're going to have a very, very difficult time doing that, and we're not going to be able to afford it. But I do think we can come up with some individual things where the seniors need to get groceries, go to the doctor, do those kinds of things. There could be something that we can make available for seniors, but basically just be the clearinghouse for a privatized company. Thank you.
Thank you. Once again, this question is for both candidates. Traffic is awful on Germantown Parkway northbound between Neshoba and Chick-fil-A, starting at 4:30 to about 6:30 each day. It takes me 15 minutes to go about half a mile. How would you address this issue? Mr. Palazzolo?
Well, the easy answer is to avoid it. With all just kidding aside, our city has really developed into the crossroads for this entire region. Whether you live in DeSoto County, or you live in Arlington, or you live in downtown, or you live in Piperton, Germantown, and roughly the Wolf River Germantown Road intersection, or the Germantown Road Walnut Grove intersection, are about the midpoint of this entire region. Help is on the way. In this year's budget, we approved the design work on the Wolf River Germantown Road intersection. We're already in the design phase. We'll let a contract out probably in the spring, and we looked at a flyover. We looked at all kinds of different options. There were 4 options. The flyover is not a realistic one, trust me. The cost, and then plus it would have taken out all the businesses at that intersection. But help is coming. Wolf River Boulevard is complete, the 2-mile stretch that it's internationally award-winning, on time and under budget. Now that takes traffic also east and west quicker. So we have east and west, north and south, and they all converge around Wolf River. So help is on the way, and that should happen within the next 12 to 18 months, and that should help out with traffic in that area. But like me, when I go to work, I go a different way. Poplar is not as busy as it once was after the widening that TDOT has made. So Poplar is a good alternative to get into the city of Memphis or to get to Cairo. Thank you.
That's my question too. Well, it's probably going to maybe get a little worse before it gets better. We do have environmental review and design in 2015, right-of-way acquisition in 2016, and the construction starts in 2017. But we have the Thornwood development. We're about to add 108 hotel rooms, so you figure, what, 108 cars parking there, and then we're about to add 250 apartments over to the corner of Neshoba and Germantown Road. So that's going to add, 1 or 2 cars, so you're looking at anywhere from 400 to 600 extra cars that are going to be parked and work in that area, not counting the retail that will be there. So we need to not only look at the impact of Wolf River Boulevard and Germantown Road, we also look at the impact in Neshoba and what all is going to be built there and how that's going to impact it, because that's going to impact the same road as well. So we need to do that. I don't think a study is underway in the CIP anywhere for that now. So hopefully we can do that when I become mayor.
Thank you. And this next question is for Mr. Brogdon. Do you believe David Pickler's claim that he had the votes on the SCS board to give Germantown Elementary School to GMSD?
Well, let's back up a little bit. We're the only ones that did get our schools, and there are some schools that had majority non-residents like Woodstock and then still went into some systems, and we weren't able to do that. I heard stories, well, if we don't do it soon, the judge's decree is going to come through. If we don't do it soon, we're going to lose our teachers and everything. But we had the same amount of time that everybody else had. We had the same amount of time to do negotiations that everybody else did. And we needed that school. Just look behind us right now. We needed that school, and we needed to figure out a way to get that school. Look, it's easy to look back, but what I want to do is look forward. And like I've come out 15 times in running for mayor. If the Germantown School District wants it, we're going to do everything we can to get that school. Thank you.
Answer the question.
Thank you. This question is for both candidates. If you are elected mayor, what is the first project you will tackle?
Thank you, Mr. Vine. I think the first thing that we need to do in 2015, we developed in 2003 a 2020 plan. And a 2020 plan is just simply a name for a template that was developed with about 500 or 600 citizens that came forward in about a year's time frame, multiple meetings. Many of them were held at the Great Hall and in other venues, a lot of charrettes, a lot of whiteboards, a lot of ideas. Now, 2020, we're not on 2020 right now, but our city has its own school district now. We have smart growth that is coming on and coming on strong. We have a central business district that has about $250 million worth of economic development that's been approved coming out of the ground or on the short-term horizon. So things are changing in our city. One of the things that I've learned on my walking tour that I started back in March all across the city is that we are a city roughly now with 3 generations. We have seniors, and we have a lot of people, some in this room, have moved back to Germantown for our municipal school districts so they could be close to their parents, so they could have 3 generations in our city. So we have to plan for what's going to bring young people, young families to Germantown. What's going to keep our seniors? My parents retired and stayed in Germantown. They could have moved to Florida. They decided to stay here. So we have so many things that we need to plan for. So the first call of business for me as mayor would be we're going to develop a 2040 or whatever our citizens decide to call this plan. And the plan is a rich plan with goals, objectives, tenets, principles, and we follow it as a city. I see some former aldermen here tonight, our school board members. The city of Germantown takes seriously what the vision that the people develop for their city, and we implement that. I think that needs to be the first call of business if I'm elected mayor.
Second question.
Yes, sir.
Well, just to touch on that real quick, I was part of the 2004 plan, the 2020 plan, and yes, we need a plan like that. But just more specifically, what I would do, for 35 years, I've been in public service. The only 3 years that I wasn't in public service was when I worked for the Day Foundation. I guess you could argue that we were helping the public, but it was a private foundation, so we won't count that. 11 years in Memphis, 24 in Germantown. What I've done is serve people. I've worked part-time in churches along the way to lead music, and you know, that's kind of just like serving people in the city. I always tell people the only difference in a church job and the government job is the church job is a little more political. But, and you can relate to that. So, but there is no learning curve for me. There's some things I want to do, and the first day we'll start all these in one way or another. That's efficient government. We have to have an efficient government. Got a high tax rate, 25% higher in Collierville. We're trying to recruit families and we're trying to put dollars into an excellent school system where Mr. Hoover and company back there can recruit kids back. Our 45% of our kids go to private school or so, 43, 45%. So we're trying to recruit those back. So we got to put the money where it really counts. I told people at the debate somewhere, if you have a successful school system, we'll have a successful city. We will financially. If our school system is not excellent, if it's not the best, sustainability for our city is going to be very, very difficult with build out. So schools are very important too. Start dialogue right away with the Germantown Municipal School District to see what we need to do. There needs to be a 5-year capital plan. I'm sure Mr. Mangle has already got one, but I would ask him for that the first day, 5-year capital plan, and what their plans are. I'd also like to look at the half-cent sales tax, guys. How many of you voted for the half-cent sales tax to go to schools? How many of you think the whole half-cent sales tax goes to schools? Well, it doesn't, not all of it. And so I would either like to give that to the schools, and then that would be a hit on the general fund, or I would like to earmark it, put it back in earmark it, because they can use it, they have needs. You saw the $27 million, that's just capital, that's not other things that they really like to do. So I would like to do that right away with the schools, and then the last thing is just look at development and make sure, I'd like to revisit smart growth and be sure that it's smart, okay? Because we are putting some things in people's backyards and things, and people aren't real thrilled about that. So we need to look at that and make sure that we're doing what's best for our economy, and we do have to fill our storefronts, but also for our neighborhoods. We have to keep our residential integrity. Thank you.
Thank you. Follow-up questions for both candidates. Riverdale has been the main school discussed during this campaign. Rarely has any other school been mentioned. What are your concerns about Riverdale? And there's a follow-up question to that, and it is, in 5 years, do you foresee Riverdale remaining a K-8 school? Mr. Palazzolo.
Well, again, that's more of a decision for the community and the Germantown Municipal School Board. I will tell you that I am very, very proud of Riverdale. I am a parent of a Riverdale alum. I spent 9 great years here. One day I complained about something in the school. Mr. Carlisle made me the chairman of the committee to fix what I complained about. I'm sure Mr. Bond, you're probably following in those footsteps. Mr. Bond taught my daughter as well. This school is probably one of the finest examples of a neighborhood community school in this entire state. The K-8 model does not work in every community, but it has worked here for years. People flock to this area, people in South Cordova, people in this neighborhood. They love the concept, and it has worked well for the test of time. This is the reason why we chose Riverdale, is because we like the K-8 model. This school has been pretty much a cornerstone of education in Germantown, and we fully support it. You know, when we look at so many of the schools, you know, we take great pride in Dogwood and Farmington and Houston Middle and Houston High, but I will tell you, there's a soft spot in my heart for this school. One of the reasons I ran for office 10 or 12 years ago is because Mr. Carlisle put me in charge of going to the city. He knew that I knew the mayor. We had $150,000 that we were raising for laptops that third graders would take with them all the way to 8th grade. You probably remember this, Mr. Bond. And so we were going to raise $75,000. I was to go to the city to ask for $75,000. And the mayor told me, I'll make the story short, that the budget had been set. And I said, well, aren't there education dollars? And they said, well, some of our aldermen will make promises to some of the schools, and apparently the money for this year was committed to Germantown High School's concession stand and restrooms at their baseball stadium. And I said, Mayor Goldsworthy, $75,000 for laptops or restrooms, where's the educational justice there? And she said, well, that's what the aldermen, 3 aldermen decided, that's where the money went. So, well, maybe I need to run for office one day. We could change the system. We did. We have an education foundation where we stripped a lot of the power from the aldermen, so it goes into an education foundation. Mr. Carlisle is one of the members. They accept grant applications, and they then take those applications based on merit and issue those funds out in the community. So you take the politics out of it. Now, that was a long answer. Riverdale rocks.
Well, I've had the opportunity to do a lot of things with Riverdale. Mr. Palazzolo was talking about the Education Foundation. I was a staff liaison for that since 2006. We never stood in here. We always were over in the cafeteria, and we would stand over there and we would present you guys big checks. Mr. Carlisle would work tirelessly to make sure that he had the right application to get the maximum amount of money. And many times he got grants in excess of $25,000. All the whiteboards, he went out and got matching. He'd bring 200% matching. I mean, how do you turn that down? He would work very hard at that. The first grant cycle, he didn't get as much as he wanted, and he looked back and he looked at the ones, he said, hey, I've got this figured out. I've also got to work with the Movers program for 13 years. It's a leadership development program that most of you won't know anything about because your child has to be in the 8th grade to be in that. It's a 6-month program. We do everything from road sports and etiquette and all types of things. Ms. Williams' son was in there last year. great kid, really enjoyed working with him, Carter. And so we have a lot of kids because Miss Fisher would just get wonderful kids from Riverdale to be in our movers program. And she would work hard. Listen, we would take them out in the woods for 2 days. And sometimes this year, I think it was 9 degrees when we left. And Miss Fisher would recruit her family, her husband, and her daughter to go out with us and camp with the kids in cabins, but not real warm cabins, for our ropes course. And it was great. At the end of around 98 or 99, the school system, the Shelby County system, decided they were going to do away with K through 8. I had a nephew in the K through 8 out in Jeter, and they did away with K through 8 in Jeter. That has totally changed that little community for the negative. Fortunately, Riverdale stayed K through 8, so that's great, and great success over the years with K through 8. Now, there's some people who have called me as I've run for mayor and said, we like the K through 5 and the 6 through 8, and I think that's great because you can have, right now you have choices of those, but the K through 8 program over here seems to be working just very well. I mean, again, look at the portables back here. Somebody must like it. So Riverdale's a great school. I guess it's probably talked about because it's probably you were impacted more with the movement that was over 50% of Germantown residents in Germantown Elementary School. You were probably impacted more than any other school. I would imagine that's the reason why.
Thank you. Next question actually involves the portables. Portables have been a hot topic, but the fact is portables have been here since the 1980s. And it would be hard to have the portables removed and building built in the summer. What is your plan for the campus at Riverdale?
Thank you, Mr. Bond. Yep, portables are never the #1 option for a learning environment. I think we all realize that. We also realize that the school has, again, great popularity and parents want to come here. The school is at capacity. It has been actually in conversation with Mr. Bond years ago. It actually had over 1,400 students. You know, we stand ready as a community. I have learned this over time. When 98% of your population has a high school diploma or higher, and 60% has a college degree or higher, this is a community that values education. When we plan with our municipal school board and we retreat with them and they prepare their long-term needs and their capital needs, we will have that frank discussion, that thorough analysis, that due diligence on the Riverdale question. It's coming. Right now, I'm not sure where the trend analysis, as we right-size the district, as more students move in, more families move in, we'll get to a certain number, but as a mayor and as a city, we stand ready to support education because our community values education. So we're ready for that.
Mr. Brogdon, do you want to talk about portables some more?
Sure. My sons were in portable. At Farmington, they put what was called, used to be called the Apex program. I'm not sure exactly what that was. Is that what it was called? Somebody nodded or said no? Yes, okay. And they were in portables. And right now, we're still in that situation where we've got to work with the Germantown Municipal School Board. Ms. Fisher, Ms. Parker here now. Others may be here. I don't have my glasses on, so that may not be you. But, you know, we need to work and get that 5-year plan. We need to see what the impact for residential and commercial is going to be on the tax base and plan just like we did. I got to be part of a system that was called the best in the country. We got the gold medal for the best park and recreation department in the country in 1997. And I was a part of that, and that was really made me feel good. Not near as big as the school system, I realize that, but I think we get there. And we have great leadership with our Germantown Municipal School Board. We have great leadership with Mr. Manuel. I have no doubt we can get there. We have to give him what he needs and resources, and give them what they need and resources to be sure. Hey guys, I'm a father of 3. My third was, I had 2 kids that did well at Grinnell College and Washington University, but also have an autistic son. So I had IEPs all the way through. I had IEPs here and I had IEPs there. And those are a lot of fun too, and many of y'all get to go to those. But with my autistic son, you know, it's a whole nother ball game. So a school system you know, they can give the fair and adequate education for each one of those kids. That's what we have to have. So those kids are up at the top and are going to make 34 and higher on the ACT, and we've got to have it for them. And, you know, we want those kids. But then we're also going to have, unfortunately, God gives us these challenges and opportunities. We're going to have those kids that need that special care too. So as an elected official, I want to be sure that we give whatever we need to for the schools to be successful in all of those gamuts, because again, if our schools are successful, then the city will be successful.
Thank you. Next question, both candidates. Do you feel the decision-making in the school lies in the hands of Jason Manuel and the GMSD board, or with the mayor, Jason Manuel, and the GMSD board? And there is a follow-up question to that that says, do you have a background in education? Mr. Brogdon?
It lies in those people's hands. Any of you FedEx employees, absolutely, positively. That's where it lies in. Now, again, when they need funding, and Mr. Manuel said he'd be fine if I go to the state and try to get legislation changed where in Texas and everything you have Tennessee municipal school districts. I wouldn't be opposed to that because I think it makes it accountable. I think it's great. Now, whether it can ever be done in Tennessee or not, I did our legislation for 13 years. I don't know if that's a possibility or not. And that's a whole nother thing to look at. But no, it lies in their hands. But the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, again, it's kind of like, you know, going to dad for the credit card. And then you got to figure out it's got to work in the city's plan too, and the taxes and all those kinds of things. And the follow-up question was?
Do you have a background in education?
My background is not in education. I have a degree in education, Bachelor of Science in Education, but it was in park administration, so don't have a background in administration. I did when I was with the Day Foundation, got to look at models all over the world. We got to look at the French model and how they do education, because we were trying to find some ways to help the Mississippi school system at the time. This was 98 through 2001, because they were kind of struggling and had some challenges, so we were really trying to look at alternative forms of education. I worked with Dr. Kathy Grace that started the Early Childhood Institute, which is still in Mississippi State, by the way, and they were able to get tons of grants, millions of dollars of grants. So I do have a holistic view, but have I ever been in the classroom? No, I'd be petrified in the classroom. I could not do that. But I certainly appreciate all the great teachers that we have who are. Thank you.
Well, I'll concur with Mr. Brogdon in the sense that the school board has its duties and responsibilities, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen has its duties and responsibilities. About 3 years ago, we took a field trip to East Tennessee. The mayor and several board members. We went to visit Oak Ridge, Mayoral, and Alcoa. We met with their school boards, and we met with their aldermen and city administrators. And a couple of those cities pretty much shared with us, you need to respect fully the responsibilities of each governmental body. You should always work together, but at the end of the day, each body has its set guidelines and responsibilities. And once you go into that gray area, that will not work for a community, simply put. As far as an education background, I have a degree in history and international studies from Rhodes College. I taught in the Mississippi schools from the high school level, government, economics, history for 3 years, coached, and currently I am in higher education. If elected as your mayor, I think it's pretty valuable. I'll be the only member of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen that has a Tennessee teaching license and any practical experience in the classroom. And I think that's a plus as we build a district of excellence moving forward.
Thank you, both candidates. Germantown is known for bad cell service, and so is our cafeteria. Several areas in Germantown are complete dead zones. This is a major safety issue. What are your plans for this issue? Will you support a plan for building cell towers at each elementary school and other areas in Germantown?
Thank you. And this is one, when you go door to door in certain neighborhoods around Dogwood, is one area, off Bragton is another. And I get great cell coverage in my own house, and that's not because I'm an elected official. It just happens to be, I'm probably close to a cell tower. We are currently looking at that. I have gotten many emails over the last 6 months. There's an article in Commercial Appeal not too long ago about Dogwood School, looking into what I think is referred to as boosters. And our IT director at the city of Germantown, Tony Fisher, has looked into that as an application actually for the city to get some of the vendors out there, whether they're Verizon or the other cell providers, if they're willing to partner and use some of the boosting capability on some of our street posts and street lamps in these dead areas. With regards to the school district, that has become their property in a sense of management. If there's a revenue producer to lease a cell tower, I don't think we would have opposition. We do have ordinances in our city, just like anything else in life. You don't want something in your backyard. There are cell towers around the city. Some of them are disguised as pine trees, and some of them are in discreet places that you don't even know they're there. So we have to make sure that aesthetically we keep our city as beautiful as we expect it, and then also give great service. But again, that's more the private sector. The private sector can come in and ask for an application in any land that they lease. And so we'd be fully supportive of that. Right now, like I said, our IT director is looking at ways to improve service in those dead areas. Thank you.
Well, again, on the school property is up to the school board and the school administration, but there is a revenue stream that goes along with that. So we like revenue streams, right? We like alternative revenue streams where they're not just property tax or sales tax or whatever. So the schools could definitely generate some dollars from that. We do have some campuses that have a tower or two, and we've done that in the parks over the years. We had a lot of concession stands built down at the Germantown Football League, the little concession, which I don't think anybody likes anymore, but that was built by the cell tower company that put the cell tower up. And the same thing over near the farm park, the bathroom that we use over there at Clovis Park Soccer Field, that was also built in conjunction with the cell tower there. So I do think there's an opportunity to try to identify. I have heard the same thing, we need cell towers. Also heard we need more flights from Memphis International Airport. One guy told me he would vote for me if I could get any more flights. And I'm not really sure how to do that. I did make a call to Jack Sammons, but other than that, I'm not sure what we could do. But the cell tower is a little more doable, and I think that we can definitely work with the private sector because, hey, they want service too. We have a few areas that are really dead. But I think I'd give the schools the opportunity first, because again, there's a revenue stream that they can generate it from. You go around our parks, they're all over the place. Yeah, we have the pine trees. Some of the pine trees are really bad. And then the one behind the Exxon, between the Exxon and Saddle Creek, you've probably never seen because it was the first one, and it's among other pine trees, and it really is hit pretty well. And then there's one that I guess would be St. George's School, but it's in a bell early on, so we're a bell tower. So some of those you don't see at all. That's right. So I think the schools could do it and do it in a tasteful way and generate some income. I would definitely be in support of that.
Thank you. Next question, both candidates. Will you propose a property tax increase?
Read my lips. No. We had a substantial property tax increase. In 1994, the city planned some 5-year taxing models. In 94, we had a tax increase. That 5-year model lasted 10 years. In 04, we had another increase. That 5-year model lasted 8 years. At the tail end of the recession, we raised the property tax 6 cents to make it through 2 years, not put a burden on our citizenry. This last tax increase, again, planned for a 5-year model. We have stretched it to 6 years. We got that word in our last budget season. My goal is to take that 5-year model to 10 years. So the quick answer is no.
Well, the 44.5-cent tax increase that we now stretched 6 years, other than we added 3 school resource officers this year, we have no money for schools. Again, I saw in the paper we need $27 million just to fix what we have. Now that doesn't help our crowd, right? That's just 27, good, I'm glad I have that right. Or I guess I didn't, I wish I didn't have that right. But anyway, took away $27 million what they're gonna need. Now when you issue bonds, you have some capacity, but you gotta pay those bonds too. And so you have to look at what impact that will be on your taxes. Now, the first thing you would do is absolutely positively try to look within and make sure that you're as efficient you can be. But I am dedicated to helping the schools get what they need. I don't think that means a tax increase. I think we can do that without it. But I'm absolutely positively want to state that I think that we need to do everything we can to help the schools and find dollars for that. I think we can find it within what we have and make it at least within the 5 or 6 years, hopefully 10. A lot of that has to do with the economy. A lot of that has to do if we fill our retail spaces. A lot of that has to do with our sales tax going up. Sales tax is actually going up a little bit now. And again, we talked about that 2-cent sales or 2.5-cent sales tax. But I'm dedicated to make sure that we get the schools the money they have. I don't think that means a tax increase. So I guess I'm saying no. But at the same time, you never want to do something that would hurt the schools. Again, if the schools are successful, the city is successful. Thank you.
Thank you. Last few questions. This one is to both candidates. As mayor, would you actively promote and support environmentally progressive initiatives to help make Germantown a leader in green living? If so, what environmental issues are important to you? Mr. Brogdon?
Well, all environmental issues, things have really, really changed over the years, and they've changed for the positive. We do have some things in our building codes where you can get some warrants and extra stories. That's probably not a nice thing to say, but a higher building if you do lead and some other things. I have noticed in my neighborhood we have a lot of young couples that live over near Cameron Brown Park, and we have a lot of new couples on our street. Some of them don't drink our water because it has fluoride. It's really interesting to me, but you know, they make those decisions. They raise their own chickens because they want fresh eggs. They have ice chests outside their house that farmers bring milk to. So I guess they want really, really fresh milk in the morning time, things like that. So we have like a whole new generation of very sustainable couples and families coming into our city. So I would like to see our environmental commission get more involved in looking at ways that we can, and we have great commissions, by the way. We have really smart people on there. We need to look at our commissions, and especially the environmental commission, and look at ways that we can champion causes that will help the city as a whole in our building, in our trucks. I went walking the other day last Sunday, and one gentleman was talking to me about using gas for not natural gas for our trucks and things. It says after the initial, it's a little savings. It's better for the air, et cetera, et cetera. So I would like just a whole plan that would work through our environmental commission to look at all the ways that our city can be sustainable. Thank you.
I think environmental sustainability is very important. A couple of examples I had mentioned earlier that Wolf River Boulevard is internationally award-winning. We entered into a contract with Audubon International to design that road for it to be environmentally sound. The median has natural grasses. Underneath, there are actually deer crossings and wildlife crossings. We wanted to build that road with as little impact as possible to the natural environment. And if you drive on that road today, you see the bikers, you see the walkers, the joggers, the car, the bicycle, the pedestrian, all seem to interact, even though you'd say that's 2 miles, and a lot of people, you know, go fast on that road. We do have cruisers there, it seems like all the time. But that road was designed for environmental sustainability. Our last fire station that we remodeled and rebuilt at Forest Hill Irene Road is Silver Certified LEED. That's Leadership in Energy Environmental Design. So your city already does this. You know, one of the things I would like to do in the future is I would like to inspire our Memphis Area Home Builders Association to come into one of our infill developments. Those are the smaller residential developments in a city, in our particular city, and design a green subdivision. Okay, that is using rainwater to catch rainwater for irrigation, other things. We're not there yet, but again, I'd like to inspire the home builders to come in and use Germantown as a model. It'd be another one of those things we could have a feather in our cap, that we do things right here, and hopefully we can get that done. So the quick answer to this is yes, I do support environmental sustainability in Germantown.
Thank you. And the final question. This is for both candidates. With the support of the mayor, the city of Germantown provided 13 years of a wonderful youth leadership program, The Movers. where 8th grade students were given the opportunity to be involved in a variety of activities, including a team building retreat that included a high ropes course at Camp Hopewell, exposure to cultural arts at the Germantown Performing Arts Center, and a personal finance course, to name just a few experiences. These students gained life, leadership, and team building skills over a period of time to help them succeed to great heights, both in high school and college, as well as their careers. As mayor, would you continue to support and provide this opportunity for our youth in Germantown? Why or why not?
The quick, Mrs. Fisher, the answer is yes. I feel that maybe you wrote that question. But I know that you are part of that program, and you and George and others have put that together. It is one of the things that we have great pride in the city. One of the neatest things I get to do as an alderman is get to ride in the holiday parade and hand out diplomas at the Movers graduation. It is an exceptional program. There's no need for us not to put that out and put it on the shelf. We need to continue that program. It's a great program for 25 or so 8th graders that are students that probably need a little bit of leadership encouragement to make that next step to be a great student or a great citizen. It's not a program where you take the 4.0 student. It's the program where you have a youngster that really needs to be part of something in a group experience where they bond together, they've got leadership skills and training together, and I wholeheartedly support that. And if anything, you know, when you run for office and you have an opponent, oftentimes you find differences or differentiation, that type of thing. I will tell you this, Mr. Brogdon, this is one of his finest hours, is this program.
Well, thank you, Mr. Palazzolo, and I will tell you that in the 10 years that Mr. Palazzolo was an alderman, he was at the graduation, I think, every year. And I can't say that about every alderman, but he was there. And when we cut, well, we did cut it a little bit. We cut all the civic support 15%, but we were able to make it work and expand the program. The Movers program, yeah, it's really not a fair question because I was involved in that from the very beginning and everything. But let me tell you what my vision is for the Movers program. The mayor and I always talked about this is, and Ms. Fisher and other people can tell you, Ms. Morris was in charge over here before Ms. Fisher. And if Ms. Morris found out somebody dropped out, she'd give me an extra kid from Riverdale. If she found out two, she'd give 2 extra kids from Riverdale. She always had a list. And probably, in reality, those 8 slots, Ms. Fisher could have filled 3 or 4 times. Because it's a great opportunity for the kids, they grow. I mean, I have many movers working in my campaign, many mover parents working in my campaign. One mover last year wanted to even give me a recommendation. She was so sweet. So what our vision is, though, is to expand it. Maybe working with the school system, city providing the resources and figure out a way how we can have more kids in it. Maybe it becomes an ongoing thing. In Maine, there are camps that I know some kids that work at, college kids and graduates of college, and the school system actually takes the kids from their school 1 or 2 weeks and go over to the camp. And they do this type of thing at the beginning of like 7th grade and 8th grade, and it just builds all kinds of unity among the classes, and those kinds of things. Now, that's a vision. We're not there yet. But I think we could definitely take the Movers and expand it to more kids. And I would be one that not only would try to find the city resources, but I think, you know, this program is so good that we could go out and probably find some corporate funding for and those types of things, because it, you know, and there's other parents out here tonight. And more, some kids, you know, get more out of it than others. But I will tell you that every once in a while I get some guy with 2 babies in a grocery basket, and he goes, Mr. Brogdon, I was a mover. And man, it's spinning in my head because I've had 300 of them, and I'm trying to think of who this guy is with the beard and 2 kids, you know. He was an 8th grader. So, yeah, I think that's a program that we can expand, and I think that the board, mayor, alderman, whoever that is, would be supportive of that. We don't need to lose that program. There's parents here tonight that can speak to that, and there's hundreds of parents otherwise. And we didn't spend very much money on it. It was just a few $1,000s. It was a good thing. Thank you.
And before you sit down, Mr. Brogdon, that was the last question. Any final comments this evening?
Yeah, I'm passionate about Germantown. I love Germantown. I love the schools. I love my kids. That's why I was passionate about the charter school thing, because I'm proud of my son. And Philip's done a great job. He's helping kids. No, charter schools is not applicable here, but again, if you had 10% reading level, I guarantee you that Mr. Mann and Mr. Hoover would be looking at something that was different, and Mrs. Parker and Ms. Fisher out here, if that's what the reading level was in 8th grade. But very passionate about Germantown. I love Germantown. I've given 35 years of public service. I always thought when the mayor didn't run again, I don't know nothing about politics, but I know you don't run against an incumbent. So I said, that's the opportunity. I was of retirement age. I wanted to give it a shot. And I'm working really hard, just like Mr. Palazzolo is. I'm up early in the morning, work late in the evening. I've got great people in my campaign, got over 100 volunteers, and that's not enough either. I mean, you need maybe thousands to do everything you need to do. But I love Germantown, and I hope I get to continue to serve Germantown, because it's a great city. It has given me 3 great kids, again, across the spectrum, but 3 great kids that I love. Given my wife and I a place to raise our kids. I don't have to worry at night. It's safe, and I could go on and on about Germantown. But we can be better, and we do have some challenges. This is the first time we've ever had a mayor's race that we've had our own Germantown Municipal School District. 5 years ago, if we'd asked, do you think we'll ever have one? You know, most people would say probably not. Now we're here with it. I'm so proud of our school district, I just can't tell you. It's just great. And I think we've got great leaders, we've got good board members, and we need to join in hands with them as citizens and, if I'm mayor, and as a board, and make sure that we have the best school system in the state of Tennessee, and once we do that, then the best in the country. And I really think we can do that. Hey, we have the best Parks and Recreation Department in the country. We can do the best school system in the country. Absolutely. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. Of course, I'm proud to be a Riverdale parent, still a member of the Riverdale DSA. I'm really proud of you tonight. I know there's some children here. They're probably going, when can I go home? And it's soon. It's very soon. I wanted to have a shout out and recognize Miss McCoy. I know she's here somewhere. My daughter was the glass of milk in the spring musical when she was a 3rd or 4th grader. And any proud dad thought that she had the lead role in that musical. So I'm very proud to be a Riverdale former parent. I am too very excited about our city. You know, we were recently recognized by Business Insider as the 13th best suburb in the United States. Earlier this year, we were rated the 10th best suburb by another marketing research firm. That same firm recognized us as being the 10th safest suburb in the United States and the 3rd happiest suburb. So we have a lot of things to be proud of. I would like to think in my 10 years in service, I can't take credit for all that, but I had something to do with it in a small part. I'm passionate about my city as well. I serve here, and I do so because I truly, truly love that type of work. The Board of Mayor and Aldermen works very well right now. The city's moving in a great direction. It's really not about change. It's really about continuous improvement and how we can go and create one Germantown and move that Germantown forward. We've got so much to build on. Our own school district, you know, we have choice. You've got 2 public school districts that you can go to if you're a parent. We've got so many great opportunities in our city. We need to continue that great momentum. We are the premier veteran community in this state. You know, sometimes Franklin tries to claim that honor. No, it's Germantown. You should be very proud of that. And that's one of the things that we'd like to continue to move forward and build on. And I appreciate your vote. In early voting on November 4th, I have left platforms. It's about 6 pages. Someone told me that's too long. Well, it's pretty detailed. If you would pick one up and take a look at it, it would be great. And other than that, I'm always available for questions. I'm very responsive, very customer service oriented, and I really do appreciate this opportunity tonight. We can all go home in a little while. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to go ahead and let the 6th grade band play one more song, and then